I'm Maggie Rose, and thanks so much for coming to the Bethesda Blues and Jazz Club.
All right. So I want to talk a little bit about your music, and let's start off by having you tell us. I want to know what exactly is new country. It's like this new thing that came out in the last couple of years. Where all of a sudden, I turn around and tell us what goes from pop to like new country. What is new country?
That's a good question. I think country is going through a pretty exciting time right now because it's constantly evolving and it's becoming more mainstream, and you have a pretty wide spectrum of the different music you're hearing, from like Lady A to, Florida Georgia Line and their hip hop kind of infused country. And then you have people like Casey Musgraves, who are really cool, like rootsy, folky kind of singers and storytellers. And I think it's, pretty inspiring for me to be emerging as a country artist myself, because I think I have something unique to offer in that whole mix of things going on.
Hip hop infused country is actually huge.
Yeah.
How, what is the genesis for that?
I think it's the subject matter of the songs. It's about having fun and drinking beer and hanging out with your friends. And I associate a lot of popular hip hop songs with that kind of party atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So it just makes sense. They go together, and it's the age demographic and what we're hardwired to hear and the context that we're listening to the songs in. So it fits for what they're writing about, those people singing the hip hop infused country.
But there, I was just telling you about my Hannah Montana
Yeah.
obsession, and on the Hannah Montana movie, there's this song where it's called, I think it's "Get Back," and it's called "Country Song in Reverse." So the whole theme of the song is you get your car back, you get your woman back, you get your house back.
Oh yeah. Instead of like I lost my dog and
exactly, you get your dog
my
back.
truck's.
And you seem too young to have those kind of problems. What attracts you to country music?
Well, thank you for saying that. But I definitely have had some experiences over the years. And really, it's what I grew up listening to. I'm from the D.C. area, so it's fun to be playing a hometown show this weekend. And, you are from D.C., and you know that we hear everything. I grew up and I was exposed to, R&B and funk and Motown and Sinatra, which I feel like is his own genre in itself. And, popular music. And country really drew me in because of the lyrical content. I think it was women like Patsy Cline and Mary Chapin Carpenter who were such descriptive storytellers. The lyrics were so cool. There's furniture in it and imagery, and they were powerful. And Shania Twain was my first concert at Jiffy Lube Live, and then there are female singers like Tracy Chapman, who had this really cool soul about her voice. She's not necessarily country, but like there's different elements, I think, because of the fact that I heard all music growing up that comes across in my sound.
Had a pocket full of cash and a rock and roll dream. I had a pearl white dress, scarlet stain, had me all figured out. I was just another piece of something.
Let's talk a little bit about your album. Like I told you, I listened to it today, well, actually, and I'm really loving it. Can you talk a little bit about the influence and the main thing? Because for me, I'm listening to it, and I feel like I know your entire relationship history here. It's focused on one guy, it seems like.
Well, yeah, there's breakups are actually a good thing. It takes a long time for me to realize that, but a lot of the songs that I wrote or I cut were because they really resonated with me. And Preacher's Daughter, for example, is the opening track of my album. And seemingly it's just a story about this girl and her boyfriend who are murdered, and it's a murder mystery. But it was actually influenced by a guy that I dated. I chose the bad guy, the deacon.
That's pretty... I wonder if let's do that.
Yeah, you will. I mean, I almost don't want that to be how the story is prefaced, because I want people to hear the song first, and the adventure and the mystery and kind of the swampiness. It's definitely set in the bayou and has that feel, but then they hear where my inspiration for it comes, and I think they appreciate like kind of the outlet that songwriting and creativity can provide.
But what was the inspiration for that? That's pretty dark.
It is kind of dark. I dated this guy, and he was totally leading a double life, and in the beginning of our relationship, he told me that his fiance had died in a car crash 5 years prior to meeting me. And of course, at that age, I was maybe like 21. I was just like, oh, poor thing. Like, let me fix you. Like, he just painted himself in this really sympathetic light. And the truth was that he was actually married with a kid and just lying about this tragedy. And then the icing on the cake was that he was also a deacon at his church, the town over. I mean, I'd like to. Yeah, I don't want to perpetuate the stereotype because, I think he's just a troubled individual. But it was a way for me to write about my aggression toward this guy without glorifying him, because he won't live on and he's not important. But the deacon in the story, is the bad guy. And I got to condemn him without telling his story in the song. So it was a cool way to kind of wrap it all together.
But based on that story...
I sound so vindictive. I'm actually a really happy person.
Are you Taylor Swift and we don't know?
No.
But then that means your other song, I Ain't Your Mama, is that based on the same guy as well, or...?
No. I Ain't Your Mama, it was more of just my claim to independence. And it's about being really confident and sexy. And I had gone through a bit of a period of growing up when I released this album. I just felt like I had come into my own, and singing a song like I Ain't Your Mama was a way to be playful, have a little humor, but also empower women. That was one of my biggest goals with really the album. I think that was something that I wanted to come across, is that feeling of empowering.
Because there are a couple of tracks on there where basically you're just kind of
Mostly Bad. The third track is, about being totally just owning sexuality, I guess, which, I feel like maybe country doesn't really explore that side of music, but that is, something that's important to me. And I think it's just kind of fun. It's a little fearsome. It's in your face. And, every time I sing that song, every night that I do, I have a little fun because I'm allowing myself to release that inner.
And the thing is, most of the only really downer song on the entire thing was the blues song.
Right. Well, and better. I mean, there's a place for that. I think that I, as an artist, released an album hoping that people get to see different notes of my personality and facets of who I am, because in such an iPod generation, in a singles-driven world, you can think you have an artist figured out, but just like any good friend that you have, you've seen them happy, you've seen them sad, and you've seen them being goofy, and that's what I wanted this album to reveal.
And actually, it's funny you should mention the iPod for the world, because I've actually kind of done a 180. I've gone back to purchasing full albums.
Yeah.
Because I just think you get a better picture of everything, and I prefer listening to full albums now.
I love that. I love you. Get everyone else to do that.
Yeah, because I have a lot of mega playlists now. But then I'm like, and especially since I do Broadway musicals and stuff, I appreciate a
Do you really?
album. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I appreciate a good album that tells a story from A to Z.
Well, and music is subjective, so every song one hears should be different to the next individual. But if you hear a whole album, all of a sudden that song that you may have loved becomes, in a different context, just a totally different story. And it's a pretty beautiful thing to be able to rediscover your favorite music and know the artist. And I think one thing that I love about country fans is how involved they are. They are very involved in live shows, social media. They really devour music. And I think that they do still buy albums because they want to feel like they have a confidant that they're listening to.
And it's the same way with Broadway musicals. Sometimes I'll just randomly download some musicals on my backseat thing, and the music has zero context to it. I'm like, I don't understand it. It's not doing anything for me. But then you see the play, you see the context. And it's like, oh, okay.
Right.
Like last year I saw
Idina Menzel.
Yeah.
Adel Nazim. When John Travolta said that was the best.
But I didn't.
Adel Nazim.
Exactly. And I saw her do Let It Go live for the first time at a Disney event. And I was like, don't understand it. Didn't do anything for me. But then I saw the movie, and I'm like, okay.
You loved it.
Still okay.
Well, at least you get it.
I get it now.
Yes.
So, but at the event, everyone was gushing, and I'm sitting there going, I don't get it.
Yeah, you're like, this is 3 minutes of randomness to me, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. And it's the same thing with albums versus singles. So how do you encourage people to go back to purchasing albums?
Well, I mean, I hope that it's sort of a process of discovery. You hear one song and then you want to hear the rest. You want to hear the rest of the story. I think that is, like I said, one of the reasons that I really like country fans, because they are involved and they want to know who they're listening to on a personal level, I think. And that, I think, gives them incentive to buy the whole thing, buy the whole project, and get the bigger picture of what this artist is about.
And then what